All right, just getting you guys ready for TNT broadcast that start a little bit later than expected. Between the Pipes, Stanley Cup playoffs edition as we get ready for Saturday evening, game one between the Dallas Stars and your Colorado Avalanche. You can hear every single one of those games on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Mark Springer and myself, we're going to be out at a couple of watch parties starting this weekend on Saturday in Golden. Details to come tomorrow morning on that watch party. So watch out on Altitude SR's social channels. And then every single game at home that the Avalanche play this year, Spring and I will be doing a live Between the Pipes from just outside that banquet bar area. So come hang out with us. Stay late after the game if you can. If you guys want to see that, Spring and I'll be live on location every single one of those games. But Mark Springer, it feels like the seasons go quicker every year. We are now going into yet another postseason run. I'm ready. I haven't worn this hat, this Stanley Cup championship hat, since the day of the parade. I got my ring on. I've got a nice koozie. I'm going to crack a beer on this one. And I tweeted out. I tweeted out my bracket, man. I think the Avs are going to get this thing done. And I think they're going to get Dallas in 6.
Yeah, no, I like Colorado in this series, and I like him even more so. We'll start with this Avs Stars series, obviously, given that Jason Robertson hurt his knee in a pointless season finale
Brandon
for the Dallas.
Staley.
Yeah, Pete DeBoer with Brandon Staley. You know what? They're on the same level. DeBoer's better, but yeah, Jared Bednar is a better coach. I truly, truly believe that. And Jared Bednar knew to shut Nathan MacKinnon down with 3 games to go. Nate didn't play against Vancouver, and then the 2 games in Southern California. They shut Lehkonen and Nichushkin down after the Kings game. They did not play in Anaheim. Devon Taves, Cale Makar did not play in SoCal as well. That's how you do it. And the Avs knew that those games were pointless. Like the Vancouver game at the time, there was like a 1% chance that they could catch Dallas. You know what's funny? I guess they could have. Because the Stars lost 7 straight to finish the season. So if the Avs would have beaten the Canucks in regulation, if they would have tried, if they would have played MacKinnon, maybe they beat the Canucks in regulation. If they play MacKinnon, Makar, and Taves in LA, they only lost that game by 1. The Avs fought admirably. Maybe they beat the Kings. Maybe the Avs would have actually gotten home ice. But, Dallas finishes at Nashville. God, what a dumpster fire the Predators were this year. But they worked the Stars, who played their dudes. And Jason Robertson hurt his knee. He took a hit in the second period from Michael McCarron. He left the game in a knee brace. He was in a knee brace leaving the arena. Not quite sure what his status is for game 1 here on Saturday night, but I'll tell you this, man, he ain't going to be 100%. You have a knee brace on after a game on Wednesday night, and you're not 100% on Saturday night. So what a massive error by Pete DeBoer and the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, it was a big miss. And Dallas, again, while a very good, very deep team, hasn't been great since the Four Nations break. In fact, defensively, and that is a hallmark of a Pete DeBoer team, is making sure that you suppress shots. Defensively, they have been the most porous 5-on-5 expected goals against team in the entire National Hockey League since the Four Nations break. Jake Ottinger plays his last 2 games of the season and gives up 9 goals, including 5 on 17 in his final game of the year. Now, are the Stars playing rope-a-dope? There's a possibility. Teams can do this, right? Teams can not really care. We saw the Avs not really care until they started pulling their players out, and then you knew exactly what was happening. I do believe you are getting Dallas at the perfect spot in the bracket. I think Dallas is a team that is deserving of a cup championship this year. They've got the goaltending. When healthy, they have the defense. And when healthy, they have arguably the deepest roster of forwards in the entire NHL. And they've added a star in Mikko Rantanen at the trade deadline, which is something that they didn't have in years previous, something that Pete DeBoer coached teams have never really had in years previous. And that's been the big question is, can DeBoer's teams score enough when it gets deep into the playoffs to get him over the hump? Because they haven't done it. A big storyline here is Jared Bednar's 0-3 against Pete DeBoer coach teams in the playoffs. That is a redemption arc unlike any other that we have to watch this year. When it comes to matching up against Dallas, is it a great matchup on paper for the Avalanche? No. But when you take Miro Heiskanen off of the ice, who had 4 goals and 8 points in 6 games last year when they beat you in round 2, that matters. If you take Jason Robertson off the ice for a game or two, that matters a whole bunch. Now they have a healthy Roope Hintz. Tyler Seguin comes back after being out of the lineup since December 1st with hip surgery as well. They are deep enough to make it not hurt as bad having Robertson and Heiskanen out, but I wonder if they can take both of those blows at the same time.
Yeah, and, we had talked about this. It's a tough first round matchup, okay? But let's say Colorado wins the Central, and it just wasn't their year to win the Central. The torrid, hot start that the Jets got off to in the season that the Jets had, they won the President's Trophy, and the goaltending woes and the injuries for the Avs to start the season, it just wasn't their year to win the Central. But let's say that they had, okay? Well, then you're getting St. Louis in round 1, and that's a tricky wild card matchup. Hell, I mean, now that Kaprizov is back for the Wild, that becomes a little bit tricky for the Vegas Golden Knights. You would have played the winner of Stars Jets in round 2 anyways. You're probably playing the Stars in round 2 anyways. So now, you're the 3 seed in the Central. You're playing Dallas in round 1 instead of round 2. You're playing Winnipeg or St. Louis in round 2 instead of round 1. It doesn't matter. It literally does not matter at all.
See, I think it matters on the positive side for the Avalanche,
and that's
right?
what I was going to get to was your positive, Raj, is, had they won the Central and they go through St. Louis, which they probably should, maybe Miro Heiskanen, and Raj, you brought this up a couple times. This is your point. I'll give you full credit. Maybe Miro Heiskanen is ready to go for round 2, and now you're playing a Stars team with Miro Heiskanen, and maybe Jason Robertson's knee would have been in a better shape come round 2. So actually playing Dallas in round 1 is a good thing because you would have faced them in rounds 1 or 2 no matter what.
It ends up coming out in your favor. And this is not the same Stars team that you saw last year. Roope Hintz is the X factor for me for Dallas. Now, it goes without saying that goaltending in the Stanley Cup playoffs, if you have hot and good goaltending, it can buoy you all the way to a cup final. So I'm going to leave Ottinger out of this for now. In terms of players on the ice, Roope Hintz was really good against the Avs until he got hurt, and then he was out until the conference final last year. If he plays a full series, I'm going to be really interested in seeing how the coaches match up those lines, right? Because Hintz does play alongside Jason Robertson. Will they slot Seguin in on his wing instead of Robertson if he misses a couple of games? I don't quite yet know. But Hintz has been an Avs killer. He is lightning fast. He is elite on the face-off dot. He kills penalties. He's a power play scorer. He can get in between your defense, and the minutes without Cale Makar and Devon Taves may tell the story of the Avs championship hopes this year spring. They take a nosedive in terms of their defensive metrics when number 8 and number 7 are not on the ice. And I think that when DeBoer is at home, he's going to find every single matchup that he can get to make sure Roope Hintz is out there against Sam Girard, Ryan Lindgren, Josh Manson, Sam Malinsky, Eric Johnson, any of the guys not named Taves and Makar. I think that's when you see number 24 Roope Hintz for Dallas jump over the boards.
Yeah, they're a deep team. Dallas is a deep team. It's Mikko's supposed to be their star. No pun intended now that he plays for the Dallas Stars. But Mikko has 1 goal this month. He has 1 goal in the 7-game losing streak and 1 goal in 8 games played here in April. 7 points this month. It's 1 goal, 6 assists. He breaks even on the plus minus this month. He is a 0 in the plus minus. It's like he wasn't even there. It's like Mikko Rantanen wasn't even there because he was not a factor this month. And the Stars go 1-8 this month. I wonder about Mikko Rantanen's ability to rise to this occasion and to flip a switch and maybe playing his former team that I'm sure he feels did him dirty, even though you could easily argue why Mikko Rantanen has no reason to feel that way because he ended up getting the same contract that the Avalanche were offering him. Mikko and or his agent gets a little greedy, and then it turns out that he got the same deal that he would have gotten either way. We've talked about this ad nauseum since this all went down, and I think the Avs are actually a better team for all of that happening. But okay, Mikko's supposed to be their star. Rupe Hintz is an underrated player. Guys like Duchesne, Wyatt Johnston, Jason Robertson, who's now banged up, Sagan, Marchment, Jamie Benn. It's a lot of good. It's a lot of very good. But unless Mikko or somebody else is playing at an elite level, like we know Nathan MacKinnon's going to play at, like we know Cale Makar is going to play at, like we know former Dallas star Valeri Nichushkin is going to play at, they need their guys to play at that level. And I haven't seen any of them this season do it for an extended stretch like the Avs Stars have.
I find myself agreeing with you. A Pete DeBoer coached team is a team that rolls four lines, a team that has a bunch of dudes that can play in the middle of the ice, that can win draws, that don't, because they don't have top scorers, right? And I know Robertson scored a 100-point pace 2 years ago. He didn't quite this year. I think the highest point scorer on Dallas this year was Matt Duchesne with 82. Robertson just short of it at 80. They don't have an elite scorer, but they have four lines of like the same dude. So it's just a nonstop wave of the same exact cycle and system, which is vastly different from what the Avalanche have. Now, you make the point, I believe, Spring, and me as well, that the Avs are a better team after trading Mikko Rantanen. I think they're a much better team to face off against Dallas, teams that are deeper and don't necessarily have the top-end scoring talent that others around the league do. Let's just throw out a Toronto Maple Leafs in there because they are a top-heavy team with Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Mitch Marner. Now that you move on from one of your elite guys and you get way bigger, way more defensively sound through the middle of the ice with Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle, I believe that trade may have had the Dallas Stars in mind. Not only was it, all right, we can't be this top heavy, we also can't risk losing Mikko Rantanen for nothing, so let's fill the holes that have killed us the last couple of years in the playoffs, the Nichushkin situation notwithstanding. I wonder if McFarland made that trade and went, we're going to have to go through Dallas. And Dallas gives us fits because they have the same exact line 4 times. And we, over the past few years, have fallen off a cliff when Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar aren't on the ice. You also make up the point that Rantanen has to step up. He's either been hit or miss when he hasn't been with Nathan MacKinnon. His underlying numbers in Carolina, pretty good, but he didn't really produce. He has now produced at a higher rate in Dallas, and he's been scoring on the power play. But I always thought there was a little bit of an issue. It was very clear that Mikko Rantanen didn't fit in Rod Brindamore's system in Carolina. I don't know if he fits in a Pete DeBoer system. The underlying metrics in terms of expected goals against when Rantanen is on the ice for Dallas is not good. And yes, it coincides with a month of them playing absolute shit hockey. But while he's scoring for them, he's a defensive black hole in Dallas right now. And it doesn't help that he doesn't have Miro Heiskanen behind him.
Here's another, I think, key player in this series from an Avalanche perspective. Now, I expect MacKinnon to do what he does. I expect Valeri Nichushkin to do what he does. Those are the two best Avalanche forwards. And, man, I think Nichushkin in this series, and we're all optimistic about his availability. The organization is very optimistic. Hey, did you see a story? I think it was Arif Dean who wrote about Valeri Nichushkin's friendship with Mackenzie Blackwood.
It was a great read. Arif's a great writer, and I had no idea about that. What a great read.
It's good that he's got a buddy, that Nichushkin's got a BFF
Do
on the
you
team.
have your exit buddy?
Your accountability buddy. God bless the
Like Cartman
toothless.
and Butters going to the zoo.
Just hold your accountability buddy's hand everywhere you go. And Mackenzie Blackwood is as steady as he comes. Mackenzie himself talked about how, he has an easy time staying calm. He doesn't, these moments don't really get to him. Now, before Mackenzie Blackwood, and I'll talk about goaltending in a second, this is his first foray into the playoffs. So we'll get to that in a second.
Welcome to Thunderdome.
A key player to match that kind of scrappy, defensive, physical play that the Stars forwards top to bottom will bring. In the Avs top six, I'm looking at Artturi Lehkonen. Heard of him? Now, he hasn't scored in 16 games. Artturi Lehkonen has not scored since March 10th against the Blackhawks when the Avs got a elusive win over the mighty Chicago Blackhawks, tongue
It's
in cheek.
amazing how they just forgot how to play hockey against an awful organization.
March 10th, that was Lehkonen's last goal. He hasn't scored in his last 16 games. Has come close on a few occasions. Did have a shootout goal, I believe. But here are Artturi Lehkonen's playoff numbers, okay? In 71 career playoff games, he has played 38 career playoff games with the Colorado Avalanche. He had played 33 career playoff games with the Montreal Canadiens. In 71 career playoff games, 23 goals, 20 assists, 43 points. He is a +5 overall in his playoff career. He scored a goal that sent the Canadiens to the Cup final in the bubble. He scored clutch playoff goals in his career. Michael says it in the chat right here. We're about to get playoff Lecky. He's due. You can see it coming. The question is, Raj, are the lines going to be what we think they're going to be? McKinnon, Necas, Lehkonen.
I wonder if that lineup is going to stay the same. And it all changes this way. The way that it changes is, does Jared Bednar wait until Gabriel Landeskog is at home to unleash him? I hope the answer is no. I hope that Gabe plays in game one. I hope that you can figure out just how much you can use him on special teams in game one. And if he can't go in game two and he needs to rest that, that's okay. You're deep enough to do that. We're talking about a team that would either have to healthy scratch Miles Wood or Parker Kelly or Joel Kiviranta. And Joel Kiviranta is a guy that I want in the lineup every single game for the Avalanche. If Landeskog is that player and you can slot him in game one, it does give Pete DeBoer a little bit of ammunition to think about to try and figure out whether or not he has to match lines with Gabe. It's an X factor that I don't think anyone knows about. And who knows what he's going to be as compared to what he was 3 years ago.
Technical difficulties there, Raj. I am back.
I see you.
Yes.
Talk to me about lineups and matchups.
Yeah, I mean, because we saw mixing and matching in the past couple months of the season, but it feels like we're back to McKinnon, Lehkonen, Necas, Nelson, Nichushkin, Drouin. That's what it feels like we're back to.
Now, are you comfortable with Drouin playing on the top line against Dallas?
Well, I have him slotted in on the second line here with Nelson and I just said his name, Nichushkin.
So your top line is McKinnon, Necas, and Lehkonen.
It feels like that's what we're back to.
Oh, I don't know. I've got a different look. I want to marry Nathan McKinnon and Val Nichushkin together. I want McKinnon, Nichushkin, Drouin. I want second line Nelson, Necas, Lehkonen. And then I want my third line as Coyle, Colton, Landeskog.
Now
Fourth
it's been hard to
line,
get it's been hard to get a read because McKinnon hasn't played since the Knights game. He missed the last three, and there were so much different variations that Bednar was trying. So it'll be interesting to see. But it felt like he had gotten back to, like, he went on a winding path back to what he originally was using since they acquired Marty Necas.
I wonder if Jonathan Drouin come playoff time is as valuable a player without Nate as he has been over the last two regular seasons with him. And I think the data shows you Jonathan Drouin is the best version of himself with Nate McKinnon. And most players are the best version of themselves alongside Nathan McKinnon. But I think more so for him than any, like, you can slot Arturi Lehkonen and he can be effective. He might not score goals, right? We're looking at a 16 goal or 16 game goalless streak for him. He can still be effective. I don't know if Drouin can be as effective without him. Now, if you're going to slot him alongside Nichushkin and he's going to turn into pre-suspension in the playoffs last year Nichushkin, then it's probably for naught. But I can't bank on that dude scoring 9 goals in the first round. I can't expect that postseason performance again, can I?
From Valeri Nichushkin?
I mean, he was on fire last year to the point where, like, I don't think that's repeatable. I think he can be close to it, but I don't think that's repeatable.
Well, he's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player. He was a Dallas Stars draft pick. I mean, he is a crucial piece of this series, of this playoff run. I firmly believe he's their second best forward. Look, whatever the top 6 combinations are, or whatever they will be, I'll say this, and it'll bring me into, we haven't mentioned 92 yet. We're 22 minutes into this show.
I mentioned him when you were having your technical difficulties, so mention.
Well, here we go. Look, of the Avs top 6, if I were to power rank them, and I'm not going to do it, I'll go McKinnon 1, Nichushkin 2. 6 for me would be Drouin. Now, I know he has great chemistry with Nathan McKinnon, and if he's in your top 6, whether it's on a top line with Nate or on a second line, hopefully there's some size balancing that out because Drouin is a smaller player. Obviously, Nelson immediately gives it to you. Maybe it's Nichushkin, maybe it's Necas. I don't know. Okay. But Gabe Landeskog is going to play in these playoffs. And according to Adrian Dater, I saw a tweet from him yesterday, I believe, that he's hearing that the plan might be for Gabe to play and make his debut, his re-debut with the Avs for Game 3, the first home game, which, a lot of people have talked about. Would it be Game 1 of the Would it be Game 1 of the series overall in Dallas? Would they wait until the first home game, Game 3? Either way, he's playing. Actually, I want to talk about, the decision maybe to play him Game 3 versus Game 1, but he's playing Game 3 at the latest, it appears. And man, he looks so good in that second Eagles game. There's a world, and I mentioned this in the last 2 Between the Pipes, where Gabe Landeskog elevates to the top 6 as this playoffs continue. This is a mini season in and of itself. The cup will not be raised until June. That's half of April. That's all of May. That's part of June. If the knee holds and he continues to play, he could find himself in the top 6 as the ramp up continues even more so into this playoff season. Then maybe Drouin comes out and Gabe goes into the top 6. I'm just leaving the door open for that.
So Drouin on the third line then gives you a true playmaker to put alongside Charlie Coyle and Ross Colton. Now, I don't hate throwing him there because that means that Gabe Landeskog then plays on your second line. So in this situation, Landeskog is healthy. He's looking good. He can play more than 12 to 15 minutes in a game. That means you can now elevate to your top 6. In that role, you would then throw him alongside Nelson and either Necas or Nichushkin.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to say Nichushkin stays with McKinnon. You put him with Brock Nelson and Marty Necas. Drouin drops down to the third line or on the left side of Coyle and Colton to give them a true playmaker. And that also forces, like, Drouin now doesn't have to go into corners to retrieve pucks. He's got two guys that are going to go do that. He has two defensively sound players, and Drouin has been better this year, especially on the defensive half while getting pucks out. I I like that. I'm cool with that. So then your top line is McKinnon, Nichushkin, Lehkonen, just like it was last year for long stretches.
It's a very real possibility. That's how good I thought Gabe was in the back half, especially of the Saturday night game, the second game in Loveland with the Eagles. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I see a comment here from Homopolis. When he says, I thought about that, but third line duty isn't Drouin's game. So here's where I think we have to change our thought process on normal line structure. First line scoring, second line scoring, third line checking, fourth line defense, and or like back in the 90s, it was a bunch of fighters and Scott Parker-esque guys. I think, especially in this series, this changes because of who you're playing against. Remember, Pete DeBoer has four lines of the same thing. He doesn't have a scoring line and a checking line and a defensive line. They're all the same thing. It is the Dutch football version of hockey. You just don't have positions. Go out there and you play. That's the reason why he's been so successful. And again, to a point, I think there's a cap to that. There's a ceiling on the DeBoer level. If you have to beat him at his own game, I think putting Drouin on your third line in this situation where Landeskog is healthy enough and good enough to be in your top six, you now have, yes, you have a scoring line. Anytime Nathan McKinnon is on the ice, that's the scoring line. But you now have size, defensive ability, checking, and playmaking ability on lines 1 through 3, and you can make the argument that you have that on line 4 with Jack Drury, Logan O'Connor, and then pick your poison between Miles Wood, Parker Kelly, or whomever else.
No, I mean, Raj, you had questions about Jonathan Drouin being a bottom six player for Colorado when he first came to the Avs, but we have seen in his career that there is a pesky defensive side to his game, and he would fit in great on a third line with Charlie Coyle, and Coyle gives that line size, and Ross Colton. That to me is a great line on paper. Now we'll see. We'll see on Gabe Landeskog, but if you can't tell from what I've been saying since watching him play with the Eagles until now, I'm very optimistic and I'm very high on Gabe Landeskog. So the decision maybe, and we'll see. We'll find out Saturday. We'll find out probably before Saturday night. I was going to say Saturday night, but we'll probably find out at some point during the day. And I expect Gabe to make the trip. I think you fly him down there no matter what, because who knows what game 2 might hold, how things could change from game 1 to game 2. But okay, if he's ready to go for game 3, and that's the plan, to play him and debut him in game 3, the first home game, you're telling me that he needs 4 more days? What are we doing?
If you make the decision based off of energy, like you're trying to save the energy from the fans in the building, that is a huge fucking mistake. Like if the decision is like we want to hold the rah boost until he gets to do this in front of Avs faithful, fuck off with that thought process. The energy that will be expelled in game 1 or game 2 is so much better used on the team, right? You have to worry about what the vibes are with the team. Putting him in the lineup gives that team juice in game 1 when they're away from the friendly confines of Ball Arena and their fan base and that raucous environment with the shaking pom-poms, which is one of the greatest traditions for a fan base in the history of the NHL. The team needs that boost. If you think that playing him in game 1 is going to make the fans any less excited to see him and hear Alan Roach announce his name, you're insane. Like, I don't understand the reporting around it, and maybe it could be, people hearing from inside sources. If the inside sources are legitimately saying this, someone needs to get slapped. That it's a ridiculous thought process. If he can play
If
in game one, he plays in game one.
Yeah, I can't imagine that the team would give two shits
No.
about let's save the pop. And first of all, it's going to be filled with Stars fans. There's going to
What
be a
happens
few.
if you're missing pop in game one and game two and you come back home down 2-0?
Yeah, based on what I saw from Gabe and Loveland, he's a better, and I think Yoel Kiviranta had an admirable season. Parker Kelly as well. He's a better option. He's a better option than those two. And if you're going to play him in game 3, why wait? Why wait? Unless there is no way, you cannot tell me that the knee needs 4 more days. Well, he won't be ready on Saturday night, but he would be ready on Wednesday night. You can't, that makes no sense after we just saw him play 2 nights in a row on a
I'd be
Friday and
livid.
Saturday night, and he's skating with the team. He's ready. There's no way, because it's the NHL versus the AHL, that he needs 4 extra days of rest to get that. No, you're either ready or you're not. You're either ready today on Thursday night as we record this show, or you're not. There's no way that he's not ready to go right now, but on Wednesday he will be. No. So play him on Saturday night. This is one, if they don't play him on Saturday night, but they do play him in game 3, especially if the Avs drop one of these 2 games in Dallas, that I'm rarely critical of the Avs organization and decisions they make, but I would question that. Like, why did you not play Gabe in games 1 and 2? I mean, screw
Right.
2. If he's ready to go for game 2, he's ready to go for game 1.
The only acceptable answer in that would be his knee wasn't ready. He played 2 games and it's the first time in 3 years and he needed the time. That's the only acceptable answer. If the answer was we wanted to hold out until he was at home to make his debut, that is asinine thought process. And Brian, we're a week away from round 1 of the NFL draft. It is smokescreen season right now. Could it be misdirection? Could it be Bednar being like, "Hey, I'm not tipping my hand. I'm not going to tell Pete DeBoer what he has to game plan for and what he doesn't have to game plan for. I'm going to say Gabe's going to be ready when he's ready." And if 92's on the ice in game 1 in Dallas and DeBoer hasn't planned for that contingency, then that's his problem. So that's probably more along the lines of what is unfolding right now is we're in draft season and that's smokescreen.
If his knee needs 4 extra days to be ready for game 3, then he shouldn't play in game 3. You know what I'm saying? Then the knee's not ready. This is playoff hockey. But I believe that he is ready based on what I saw. I mean, that's a player who is ready to go. So, we'll see what they do. I'm hoping that he plays on Saturday night. I see no reason not to. If he debuts in game 3, I see no reason why he shouldn't have then played in games 1 and 2. But we'll see. And man, what a boost it is going to be to the Avalanche. I mean, it seems like game 3 at the latest. I'm still thinking game 1, but what a boost it's going to be, not just from an emotional perspective, not just from a leadership perspective, but I'm telling you, from an on-ice perspective, he is a difference maker already based on what I saw in his AHL stint.
Michael in the comments goes, he plays game 1 and then in game 3, this would be unbelievable. It'd be so funny, so damn funny too, to kind of like break. Energy is great. Like ramped up playoff energy. There's nothing like it. Regardless of what level you play, there's nothing like playoff hockey. It's a tingle that I will always search for the rest of my life. It's part of the reason why I still coach to this day. You never feel that type of adrenaline anywhere else. And I'm sure that the level of adrenaline that I felt in my playing days it's minuscule. It's a half of a percentage as compared to what it has to feel like in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But at some point, that energy can start to make you grip the stick a little bit. That energy can make you nervous about making a mistake or two. And especially with a player like Gabe, yes, these guys are mutant versions of humans, but they're still human beings. They still have these type of emotions that are pulsing through them. If you've watched any of this TNT documentary on Gabe, he has shown you just how human he is and how human this experience has been. It's brought a guy who has had the utmost level of confidence in his self since he was probably 14 years old. I'm the best at what I do. Watch me. To, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to step on the ice again. I don't know if my kids are ever going to be able to watch me do what I do that made dad who he is in everyone's eyes. That energy might be too much. And I think what a great idea that Michael just threw out here on the YouTube chat. I hope in game 3, the Avs have Gabe lead them out of the locker room and they give him a rookie lap. He just stays out there for 15 seconds to the point where he gets to feel it. And then it's just long enough to go, all right, what the fuck's happening here, guys? So he can laugh a little bit. The fellas behind him are not only enjoying the aura and the chants and the screams, but then they get to see him start to laugh it off. And I think that type of breath will go miles.
I saw some tweets to the effect of when Gabe was playing for the Eagles, the minor league team, and you really don't see these conditioning stints. Like, this isn't like baseball, where when you're coming back, now don't get me wrong, you'll see him from time to time in the NHL, but in baseball, when you go on the IL and go on the rehab stint to the AAA team, you see that all the time. You don't see that as much in the NHL. So it's rare for like a player of Gabe's caliber to play in the AHL. It's mostly prospects. It's mostly younger guys. And so some of the tweets were funny, like, man, this Gabe Landeskog, this 92 prospect looks pretty good.
He could be something. Avs may have found something in the rough.
Who's this? Where'd they get this guy from? Oh man, he's too good for the Eagles. So yeah, the rookie lap would be funny and lighten the mood. Also another reason, and again, you're either ready or you're not. You're either ready today, you're either ready Saturday. There's no difference between today, Saturday, and next Wednesday. You're ready. You're either ready or you're not, and I think Gabe is. Another reason to play him game 1 is the emotion of the home debut, the home re-debut. Get some of the rust and the jitters. There's going to be jitters either way, even not being in front of the home fans. There's going to be jitters for Gabe if he, and I think he should play on Saturday nights, just in his first NHL game back in a playoff game. Let him get those emotions out of the way instead of it just all coming down on him at once. In game 3.
Yeah, you want to be able to have him feel as though he's able to perform at peak ability. And to do that, he has to test it before then. If he's able to play in game 1, regardless of what's happening out there on Twitter, if he can play hockey in game 1, the Avalanche are playing him in the lineup. That is my feeling. He doesn't play back-to-back games in throwaway American Hockey League end-of-season play without being ready to go in game 1. I think the hand was shown, and I expect that to happen on Saturday evening is Gabe to be in the lineup for the Avs at American Airlines Arena in Dallas. Spring, you've been sitting on them, the goaltenders.
Yep, that was where I was going to go next. Jake Ottinger versus Mackenzie Blackwood, and it's interesting when you look at the NHL leaders in save percentage. Hellebuck number 1, at least in minimum games, let's say minimum 40 games played. As ESPN.com is putting a stupid Verizon ad over my thanks ESPN.com. I don't need that right now.
Darcy Kemper's not far behind him, man.
Yeah, Darcy Kemper's number 2.
In a season that we haven't talked about any other goalies, like league wide. I know we talked a lot about Mackenzie Blackwood and Wedgie and Georgiev, who San Jose said get bent. We're not going to sign you in the offseason. Darcy Kemper's having a Vezina-worthy season, and he's not going to get like a single first place vote.
Well, no, nor should he. But I saw like in the NHL put out a graphic of Vezina candidates, and they put like 4 goalies on it. Obviously, Hellebuck, Ottinger was one of the 4. They didn't put Kemper on the graphic, which
He's got a
that's a,
202 goals or 207 goals against average.
that's another what are we doing? Vasilevsky third in save percentage. I imagine he was on there. Let's see, Philip Gustafson fourth. And look, I talk about St. Louis and Minnesota, especially now that Kaprizov is back for Minnesota. Those are Winnipeg and Vegas don't have cakewalks. They don't. I mean, Minnesota also has a young defenseman, Brock Faber, that I really like.
He's so
we,
good.
We know what St. Louis brings to the table because they beat the Avs in the regular season series. That's a solid team, and they have good goaltending with Binnington, red hot since the Four Nations. So Gustafson, fourth on the list. Blackwood is fifth. Again, I'm going to go minimum 40 games started here this season. Blackwood is fifth, and he wasn't on this graphic either. Let's see. Ottinger, Dustin Wolf, sixth. Logan Thompson, seventh. Jake Ottinger, eighth. So you got Blackwood fifth in save percentage versus Ottinger eighth in save percentage. We just saw Ottinger allow 5 goals. And I know, was Dallas trying against Nashville? Look, hockey's one of those sports where when you're out there, you kind of just have to go, So Dallas had all their dudes out there. It's why Jason Robertson got hurt. Ottinger still allows 5 goals. Blackwood's had a better season than Jake Ottinger when you look at the numbers. I know I always talk about, and everyone talks about the Calgary series that Ottinger had a few-ish years ago where he was amazing. Calgary ultimately wins that series, but Ottinger had like a 60-save performance in the finale of that series, and then it just became too much, and the Flames ended up beating him. But Ottinger was phenomenal in that series, in that final game in particular. But since then, he's been good, but he hasn't been elite. And Mackenzie Blackwood, I think this season has been better than Jake Ottinger.
Ever since Mackenzie Blackwood took over the starting job for Colorado, they moved from the worst goaltending tandem in the league statistically. Also, by the way, did you know this last year? The Avs at 3.34 goals against for the regular season were far and away the worst goaltending team to advance out of round 1 in last year's playoff. Like, it's not even close. It was everyone else and then Colorado, like on the far side of the x-axis. Sure. Ever since Blackwood stepped in, they're in top 10 in save percentage. They are top 10 in goals saved above expected. And it's not just him. Scott Wedgwood's been awesome too. Now, the issue is there's 3 combined games of playoff experience between the two of them. And all of those combined games belong to Scott Wedgwood in 2023 with the Dallas Stars. I think that's the big reason why you don't hear Mackenzie Blackwood talked about as like an ace for the Avalanche. He's an X factor for the Avalanche, right? Because he is statistically the best goalie that they've had here since Darcy Kemper. He makes the chasm that used to be Ottinger to Georgiev. He makes it like a creek that you have to cross rather than the Grand Canyon. But the issue is he's never seen the bright lights of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
That's just it. Ottinger has a few years of experience here now. He's entering his prime. Now he's 26 years old. He got his first crack at the playoffs at like 23, 22-ish years old. So Ottinger is now a grizzled playoff vet. Mackenzie Blackwood is, I think, a little older. He's a little older than Jake Ottinger, but these are his first playoffs. It certainly wasn't in the playoffs with the San Jose Sharks and then the New Jersey Devils before that. Blackwood, 28 years old. So that is an X factor here. These are the first playoff games that Mackenzie Blackwood will have ever played, despite, I think, him having, and the numbers say as much, having a better regular season than Jake Ottinger. Ottinger has the playoff experience despite being 2 years younger than Blackwood. Blackwood does not. But I believe in Mackenzie Blackwood. There's a reason they gave him that 5-year extension. This is his chance on the national stage to put himself in next year's Vezina conversation to alert the hockey world that hey,
Yes.
the Avs have a goaltender right now, because you look at the numbers, he really should be in the conversation, but spent the first chunk of the season with the Sharks. I think that plays into it as well.
You know what this is? This is a tryout for Team Canada at the Olympic Games. That's
Sure.
what this is for Mackenzie Blackwood. Jordan Binnington stepped up big time for them in the Four Nations, and he's been on and off, and maybe Binnington will continue to be playoff Binnington through round one. There was a huge question mark in net for Canada. Who the hell is it going to be? No, like there were thoughts that it was Samuel Montembeault out there in Montreal, and we'll get to the Montreal Canadiens very, very shortly. We'll go through our brackets and what we think is going to happen across the rest of the NHL playoffs. No one knew who was going to be Canada's goaltender, and everyone going into the Four Nations was like, the best Canadian goaltender isn't at the tournament. It's Mackenzie Blackwood. This is his tryout. Mark my words. If he gets the Avs to the West Final, he is Team Canada's goaltender going into the Italian Olympics.
You know what's funny about that too is I am absolutely not ruling out the possibility that the Blues upset the Jets in round one. We'll see what we get from playoff Hellebuck, who might win the damn Hart Trophy, let alone the Vezina.
I think he's going to win the Hart. I think he wins it.
I haven't looked. Let me pull the odds up here in a second, but I'm not ruling out that Binnington, who has been red hot since the Four Nations, what a matchup that would be in the second round. I mean, that's you talk about a Team Canada goalie tryout for the Olympics. Like,
yep,
there it is, right in front of your face.
Go win it, fellas. Job's yours if you win the series. That's exactly what happens. I love that.
Binnington versus Blackwood. I think that, okay, so when Blackwood came over from the Sharks in his first month or two with the Avs, Raj, you and I mean, we would come on between the pipes and just rave and glow about Mackenzie Blackwood and how good he looked and what a steal of a trade this was. We kind of had a sense about it even when the trade came down. You looked at Blackwood's numbers with the Sharks and the prospect that he was coming up with the Devils, the size he has, the tangibles, his movements in the crease, the way he attacks as a goaltender. You could kind of see it coming, and then it came to fruition, and we were just raving about this guy, and it's cooled a little bit. It's cool. We haven't really just raved about Mackenzie Blackwood over the past month or two. I think, one, we got used to it, and two, I mean, he was playing so well, and just a natural dip happened. That's going to happen with any goaltender. I mean, look, Shesterkin has his weak spots, his weak stretches. Vasilevsky does, all of the goaltenders. Hellebuck has managed to, he's just having a season. He's on one. Previously in his career, he has had some stretches of struggle, but it's not like Mackenzie has overly struggled in any sort of the way. He's still been very good. Also, Scott Wedgwood has been very good behind him. Now, if for some reason something were to happen to Mackenzie Blackwood in this series, you mentioned Wedgwood as a former star. I love that. Should it need to happen, get some revenge on his former team. And he's just a damn good backup in his own right. It's like having a Pavel Francouz back there, someone you can rely on. But I don't see that happening. I think Mackenzie Blackwood is going to announce himself truly. He's been forgotten a little bit with all that McKinnon did and Makar did in the second half of this season, in the past couple months of this season. The Mikko trade, all the trades the Avs made kind of took the spotlight away from Mackenzie Blackwood. I think he can get it back here in these playoffs. And, man, whether it's Hellebuck or Binnington in round two, can't wait for that matchup. But also, I mean, Ottinger in round one, that's going to be a hell of a matchup too.
I said Roope Hintz was the X factor for the Dallas Stars. Mackenzie Blackwood's the X factor for the Avalanche. And it's not that he has to be amazing. He doesn't have to be. He just has to be steady Eddie. As long as you don't give up the back-breaking goal, as long as you don't give up the early goal, the goal that happens right after you score, maybe the late period goal with a minute to go after you've played a really good period. Let's say you play an awesome road period, game one. First period, it's tied at 0, but you're looking good. You haven't given up all that many scoring opportunities against. You've had a couple of posts that you bring. You look good. You feel good. The goal you can't give up is the cheapie with a minute to go to kill all that momentum. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be
Sure.
Dominic Hasek. You don't have to be Marty Berder. Hell, you don't have to be you don't have to be Patrick Waugh. Steady
Well,
Eddie. That's all I need you to be.
we saw as much with Darcy Kemper, and in many ways, especially
Steady
if you're getting Landeskog back, what's in front of Blackwood is as good. And as I said, especially if you're getting Landeskog back and in somewhat of a prime version of him, which I think is possible, especially as the thing progresses, maybe better than 2022, maybe better than what Kemper had in front of him. So you're right, Raj. You just need to be solid, and Blackwood can be even more than that. So yeah, I'm excited to watch Blackwood in his first playoff run here.
All right, Spring, let's take a look at the rest of the National Hockey League as the playoffs begin on Saturday. Still playing regular season hockey tonight, which is insane to me, although none of the games matter. There was a chance that Columbus could have mattered tonight. Montreal finds a way to come away with a 4-2 win at home over the Carolina Hurricanes. Beautiful goal. Montreal, man, I don't think they have a chance, a prayer against Washington. I think they get bounced in 4 or 5 games. In my bracket, I have Montreal losing 4-1 as the 8 seed going up against the number 1 overall seed in the East and the Washington Capitals. The goal that they score to go up 3-2 at home at Bell Center was made by all of their young guys. And it was really cool to watch Uri Slafkovsky start to play really heavy and physical and get above pucks and be responsible after not getting a great offensive opportunity. He checks above the puck, wins a 1-on-2 battle on the offensive half wall, gets the puck up to Hudson. Sorry, I missed his name. But Hudson, who had just set the rookie record for most assists by a defenseman in NHL history. And Hudson goes cross ice to the captain, Nick Suzuki, who buries it. Montreal has an amazing future. Marty St. Louis doing an awesome job. They do not defend nearly well enough to win this series. I have Capitals in 5.
Yeah, I think every 1 seed, I think the 8 seeds are all tougher, all 4 of them as a group than we've seen in years past. I like this Montreal team. Now, of all the series lines, prices, markets, whatever you want to say on the betting markets, the Capitals are the biggest favorite of every single series. It's actually kind of not even close. The Capitals are the only team that are in the minus 300s. Capitals are minus 330 to win this series. Canadians plus 260. Look, the season that Alex Ovechkin just had, breaking Gretzky's record. Logan Thompson, good steal. I think that was it a trade or free agent signing? Either way, getting Logan Thompson over
He's
from
a
the Vegas
casualty from Vegas.
Yeah, getting him from Vegas. And man, his win-loss record is insane. And I mentioned him when I was going through the leaders in save percentage. He's in that top 8. He's ahead of Ottinger. He's a good goaltender. Should they need, I think Charlie Lindgren, Ryan Lindgren's brother, is a pretty good backup. But, it's not just Ovi. There's some young talent like Dylan Strome has taken a step.
Protas.
Yes. You still got Carlson defensively. It's a good team. Shout out to what that organization did as opposed to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are legit. Yeah, I think Washington wins this series.
All right, Washington goes through on the bottom side of that bracket. Carolina going up against the the Metro 3 team in the New Jersey Devils. I've got Carolina winning this one in 5. New Jersey's not at full health. They have not been their rightful selves this year. They do not have the goaltending to get this done. Carolina is too good, too proven of a playoff contending team. I don't really like choosing sweeps. That's the only reason why I didn't choose this to be a sweep. It could very well be 4-0.
It could be. Yeah, I like Carolina as well. They're minus 245. That's actually so they're the second biggest favorite to win their series. New Jersey plus 200. No Jack Hughes. That's it. No Jack Hughes. That's it.
Jack Hughes, no chance.
Their goaltending's not good enough. Jacob Markstrom, it's not good enough. Carolina, look, Freddie Anderson always shows up this time of year. If you need to go to Kochetkov, the young Russian. He's a really good young goaltender as well.
Fiery.
Carolina, what they were just a couple weeks ago, they had a 9 or so game win streak. They've been playing well down the stretch. You know what's going to happen, or what I'm predicting to happen, is Carolina's going to the second round. Colorado's going to the second round. Mikko and the Stars are not.
Ooh, I love that. All right, so we'll go back over across the bracket. We did one half of the East. Let's do our first half of the West. I've got Colorado. We've talked ad nauseum about this series. I have Colorado in 6 in this one. They, while aren't historically the better team in terms of playoff series against the Dallas Stars, every time that they've matched up against Dallas in the first round, they've won the series. And I think it's like the last time the Avs clinched a playoff series at home was like 2003 or something like that.
Yeah,
They're going to do it at home. Avs in 6.
Okay, this is the only series where I will give a number like you did, like in 4, in 5, and 6, and 7. I'm terrible with that, so I'll leave that to you for the rest of these series. I'll just stick with winners, even though I picked 2 massive favorites so far. Look at me. If Gabe Landeskog plays game 1, and I assume if he plays game 1, and I saw somebody bring up, I'll actually bring this comment up here because I actually want to address this. Brian in the chat said someone on the Locked On Avs podcast suggested you play Gabe 1 game, rest in the other game, alternate rotation with Kiviranta. Perhaps. I think you play him game 1, and then, as the Avs have said, day by day. How does the knee respond? How does he feel? If he looks good game 1 and he plays well game 1 and the knee responds, he gets a day off. You play Monday, you play him game 2. You just keep going. You just play him every single game. And if that's the case, if Gabe plays game 1, barring any setbacks, and screw it, I'll just outright predict it. I think Gabe's playing game 1. I think he looks better than people expect. Raj, Avs in 4.
What?
Avs in 4.
I love that for you. I think you're insane, but I love that for you.
Avs in 4. The Gabe spark in game 1, and the Avs are favorites. They're road favorites in game 1, -15 road favorites. Stars are -105. That's very close to a pick 'em, but yeah, that's still road favorite and home dog. The Avs take game 1, and I think the snowball effect carries, and that Gabe X factor is real, and the Stars are going to be like, what the fuck just hit us?
So Dom Lischussen's model on The Athletic before the injuries and before Gabe Landeskog had the win probability at 53% in the favor of the Dallas Stars. After the Robertson injury, and with the Heiskanen question mark, and with Gabe coming back into the lineup, Dallas has plummeted to 43% on his probability model. Now, a lot of this hinges on Heiskanen and Robertson. Nearly all of this hinges on Heiskanen and Robertson. If those 2 players miss at least 2 games each, sweeps are tough. It's got a good chance to happen if those 2 players miss 2 or more. All right, at the top of that side of the bracket, you have the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, and that is the Winnipeg Jets going on against arguably the hottest team in the National Hockey League, the St. Louis Blues. I think it's going to be a rock'em sock'em series. I think it's going to be awesome goaltending. Winnipeg, however, I think is too good. They've got the firepower. They do have the better goaltender, although it is a close matchup with the way that Binnington is playing, and he does find a way to catch fire. I have Winnipeg in 6.
All right, here's my first upset. I got the Blues winning this series. Let's see, Winnipeg a -190 favorite to win this series. So, the odds makers are saying that St. Louis is going to be tougher on Winnipeg than, New Jersey is going to be on Carolina, or Montreal is going to be on Washington, the other 8-1 matchups that we've talked about so far. The last President's Trophy winner to win the Stanley Cup was the 2012-2013 Blackhawks. So it has been 12 years. The 07-08 Red Wings did it. The 01-02 Red Wings did it. The 2000-2001 Avalanche got it done. So only 4 times since the turn of the century has a President's Trophy winner, won the Stanley Cup, and we're talking about the Stanley Cup. This is round one. Look, I think playoff Hellebuck is a real thing, just like Clayton Kershaw is a real thing. How many years did we think, no, Kershaw, he's got it. Did you see him in the regular season? It's not happening again. I don't think Winnipeg, whether it's Kyle Connor or Mark Scheifele or Morrissey defensively, these are good players. They're not great players. I actually think St. Louis, from a depth perspective, matches up with them. And Jordan Binnington has been red hot since the Four Nations. I'm going with the Canadian Four Nations tryout theory. Blues Avs round two. And there's going to be at least one upset. I think in these playoffs, I'm marking the Blues as one of them.
All right, working our way down the West, you have Minnesota as the wild card one, taking on the Vegas Golden Knights, the winner of the Pacific Division. Yes, Kirill Kaprizov is back. I do think Vegas is just too much to handle. I have not been impressed by Minnesota this year enough to give them a real puncher's chance. Vegas in 5.
I give Minnesota a puncher's chance. They got Kaprizov back, but on the other side of the bracket, spoiler, I think the Avs are coming out of, whether it's St. Louis or Winnipeg, I think they're coming out of that series too. And the two teams that would be the most, that would be the scariest. And that's what this usually is. That's what these tournaments usually are. It's very rare that you get lucky in the conference finals. You're like, holy shit, it's the Wild. Holy shit, it's the Kings. We're so lucky. No, it's going to be either Vegas or Edmonton. So Vegas will win this series as minus 205 favorites.
Kings and Oilers, I think this is the most entertaining series of the first round outside of Colorado and Dallas. And again, if Colorado and Dallas play at full health, I think that thing can go 7. But without Robertson and Heiskanen, my hands are up in the air. I think Colorado has a decided advantage if those two players miss multiple games each. This is round 4 of LA and Edmonton. This is the year LA gets it done. They get done in 7.
I've got the Oilers. I'm going to go with Edmonton because I think the money matchup is Knights-Oilers in round 2. McDavid and Draisaitl are playing. They got Skinner back. Say what you want, but he made it to a cup final last year. Now, no Ekholm. I don't know if they can get past Vegas after that.
I don't think they can get past LA without Ekholm. I don't think they can get past LA with an injured Leon Draisaitl. Dude, I think
you might be right.
A lot of hockey. I think they are older. They are smaller. They are slower. I don't think Edmonton's getting out of the first round. Now, this is coming out of a mouth that said 2.5 months ago when they were healthy and good, I said they were the most dangerous team in the National Hockey League. I don't think it's the same team on the ice as it was 2.5 months ago.
I don't disagree. I just think that Edmonton finds something, and they're just a sexier team. It's a round 1 matchup. The Kings just don't do much for me. But Raj, it's a close one. I'm not going to disagree with the Kings pick, but I'll go Edmonton.
All right, you've got Edmonton and Vegas. Who advances to the West Final out of those two teams?
I'll go with Vegas. I think that, that's where the Ekholm injury catches up. That's where, Draisaitl could be banged up as all hell at that point, similar to how he was in the Western Conference Finals against the Avs when the Avs won the Cup. Draisaitl could barely move out there. So I'll go Vegas moving on to the conference finals.
I love hot goaltending, and I love teams that can kill plays in the neutral zone with their defensive blue line. For me, those are the Los Angeles Kings. I have the Kings on the back of Darcy Kemper, on the back of Drew Doughty and Gavrikov on that back line, and a Quentin Byfield renaissance. I think Quentin Byfield steps onto the scene and goes, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to take the mantle from Anze Kopitar. I'm the leader of this team now. I've got LA advancing to the West Final to take on, between the Avalanche and the Winnipeg Jets, your Colorado Avalanche in the West Final.
That'd be a hell of a story. That'd be a hell of a matchup. Darcy Kemper versus Mackenzie Blackwood. Darcy Kemper versus the Avalanche in the conference finals. No, look, I like what you said about Byfield. They're going to need that. The Kings are going to need that. And that's a storyline. The league would like that. If a player like Quentin Byfield stepped up, that could draw some interest.
Yep.
And that's something that could happen. And so, I mean, I've got St. Louis, Colorado, and I'm picking Colorado in that series.
Without a doubt. All right, let's go back over to the East. We've already said that Washington advances past Montreal, that Carolina trounces New Jersey. So let's go up to the top before we choose our Eastern Conference finalists. Toronto win their division yet again, north of 100 points. Yet again, they draw Brady Tkachuk and the Ottawa Senators in round one. I got them in 6 games. Toronto gets through the first round. I think they get scared a little bit. Toronto's the better team. They're good enough this year to get through a weakened East. And I think they have the benefit of in round 2, they're going to be facing 2 war-torn teams. Whoever gets through there in the Battle of Florida between Tampa Bay and the Panthers, man, I think Toronto is going to be rested, healed, and ready to take on one of those 2 teams. Give me Toronto in 6 over Ottawa.
All right. I got to choose one upset in each conference. I went with the Blues in the West. You went with the Kings in the West. My Eastern Conference first round upset is going to be the Senators over the Maple Leafs.
Well, that's not good for my for my pathway, as you guys will learn here soon.
So Brady Tkachuk is back. I think he played tonight.
Brady's back.
Brady's back. And when you look at the line on this series, Toronto minus for a 1 or for a 2 versus a 7, Toronto minus 170, Ottawa plus 145. It is the closest line of either the 1/8 or the 2 7s. Look, they're the Leafs, man. They're the Leafs. What do the Leafs do?
They're built to lose, Spring.
They're built to lose, and they leaf. The Leafs gone leaf. Brady Tkachuk is back, and I'll lead it into. I'm going to go first on the next one because I'm going the Battle of the Tkachuks in round 2. I'm going Brady versus Matthew. Now the Panthers, and this has got to be because of uncertainty with Matthew Tkachuk's injury status.
Yes.
That darn 4 Nations. But I think Matthew's playing in this series. The Panthers are the slightest of favorites over the Lightning. Minus 115 for the Panthers, minus 105 for the Lightning. Very similar to this Avs-Stars series. But actually, wow, let me mention this. The Avs are up to minus 140 favorites in this series. Kind of goes along with Dom Luszczyszyn's model. Now the markets are the Avs are minus 140 favorites to beat the Stars, who are plus 120. So the tightest series on the odds on the markets is Panthers minus 115, Lightning minus 105. I think that's just a Tkachuk thing. I think he plays. I think we get the Tkachuk brothers in round 2. I'm going Sens Panthers round 2.
All right. I think this is the most exciting first round matchup in the East. I think you're wrong. I think you're overlooking the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are 26-5 since February 1st. 26-5. They have a 2-time Stanley Cup champion goaltender, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion #1 defenseman, as well as another a bunch of guys around that roster who have won in Tampa. Florida played a bunch of hockey over the last 2 years, man. Tampa, they played a lot, not as much. I've got Tampa in 7. I think they stay red hot, and we get a matchup of the Leafs and the Lightning in round 2. And even though I think the Tampa or the Toronto Maple Leafs are built to lose, I just have a feeling there's a Canadian team in the Cup final this year, man. Not only are they going to advance to the East final by beating Tampa Bay and getting that monkey off their back, I've got Toronto in the Stanley Cup final.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
I am drinking the Kool-Aid.
Know how many humans have died from that Kool-Aid? From believing in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Do you know how many humans have said the Leafs are winning this series, only to look back on it and say, why
I'm going to look like an idiot. They're going to lose in round 1. I know I am, but I was looking at my bracket and I was like, I don't want to be chalky. I want to have some fun. And you know what? Toronto's been a good team this year, man.
No, they have. That's actually, this is, as a team, this is the best that they have looked.
All right, so I have Toronto advancing to the East Final out of that side. Out of Ottawa and Florida, who do you got?
Oh boy, I'm gonna go with Florida. I am.
It's a good team.
I'm going with Big Brother Matthew. I don't like that Panthers Lightning series. No, that's gonna be a slog. That's gonna be an awesome series. That might be the series on the east side of the bracket, much like I think. I'm predicting a sweep actually for Avs Stars. So we'll see about that. Uh, that's a great shirt. Yeah, Matthew, Big Brother gets the win. You know, you add Seth Jones, you add Brad Marchand to go with Barkov, to go with Reinhardt. I mean, they won the cup last year. How long can Bobrovsky keep this up? I don't know, as he's old as hell now, but that's just a deep as hell offensive team. And I'm going to say the Panthers are back in the conference finals.
All right, Panthers move on to face whom out of the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes?
I'm going to go with the Caps. No Mikko Rantanen, no Marty Necas. It's too much. And Carolina, they always fizzle out in that second round. And the last, well, why don't we have a star? Well, you almost had one. You actually had one in your building.
I've got Carolina moving past Washington. For some reason, I can't get over it feels like fool's gold thing with Washington, even though they've been awesome all season and they're deep and they've got Jake Chikrin on the back end. Something feels right about teams that have constantly gotten there and lost in heartbreaking ways like Carolina. And for me, that's kind of the way that I feel about Toronto right now, is that most of the time when we talk about sports, you have to fail multiple times to get to the mountaintop. Toronto's failed all the time. Carolina's failed a lot. Washington's gotten theirs, and they may have gotten the most important thing in terms of like a hockey lore sense this year. They've already checked off their big box. Now, the team's big box is a Stanley Cup championship, but we all know what the big thing was for Washington. It was getting Ovi's goal record and being a decent team at the same year. However, the story of greatest goal scorer ever making one final run, that might trump this thing. I've got Carolina beating them, but then I have them losing to Toronto in the East Final, man.
All right. I guess on to who we got going to the Stanley Cup final then, no?
Yeah. Toronto over Carolina, and then in the West side, in the battle of Mackenzie Blackwood and Darcy Kemper. Guys, I think if the Avs get this far, they're going all the way. If they get to a West Final, they're getting this thing done. They will be healthy. Landeskog will be activated and playing top 6 minutes. I've got Colorado advancing to the Stanley Cup final to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I also have the Avs going to the Cup final, and I think I have the Florida Panthers coming out of the Eastern Conference, beating the Washington Capitals. So a battle of 2 of the last 3 Stanley Cup champions. I mean, I have the Avs going through the Knights in the conference finals, and that's the Stanley Cup champions sandwiched in between those 2 teams. You know, that's a hell of a road. And even Toronto in the finals would be a hell of a road. You know, you're going through Dallas, you're going through either Winnipeg or St. Louis, but you know I don't believe in the Jets. You're going through the Knights, or maybe the Oilers, maybe the Kings, and then either the Leafs or the Panthers. As Raj and I those are our forecasts. It's a hell of a road. I think the Avs are primed. I really do. I think that they're a 3 seed just by a matter of circumstance. The goaltending to start the season, the injuries, the Landeskog scenario has affected them for 3 years now. The Nichushkin situation affected them the past 2 years. I think it has all finally clicked and come together thanks to Chris McFarland, thanks to the rehab and resilience of Gabriel Landeskog, the prime of Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar and Valeri Nichushkin. It has all come together. That is the best team on paper in these playoffs. Matthew Tkachuk, that knee gives out on him eventually. The Panthers, that's not a back-to-back champion. Avs are lifting another trophy. That is my honest prediction. No, I would say this if I lived anywhere in the country. This has nothing to do with this show or or who writes our checks or anything like that. I truly believe the Avs are the best team right now, and they win the cup.
Every year I try and find a way to talk myself out of giving the Avs the path to the Stanley Cup championship. And then I look at myself in the mirror and I go, why the fuck are you trying to do that? But don't be that guy. No one likes that guy. It's I'd rather be called a honk or a team player. I'd rather be called a paid employee than be the guy that roots against his own team, that roots against the team that everybody wants in this chat to win another Stanley Cup championship. I did it last year. I told you that they were going to lose in the Western Conference final. They didn't quite get there. I'm not going to do it again this year. If they're healthy, this team's winning the goddamn Stanley Cup. Colorado over Toronto, 6 games. They hoist cup number 4. And that's the way she goes.
I don't think it's a homer thing, man. I don't think that it's anything like that. I really don't. This is a team with Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, the additions they've made. Nichushkin's the most underrated elite player in this league. Doesn't get his due, will get his due. They have the goaltending now. We could go up and down the lineup, the moves that they made. It is a team that is built to win. It is a dangerous team. I'll never truly know, but I'd love to believe if I was born elsewhere and I was looking at this exact playoff bracket and I had any eye for what legit talent is, I would look at this Avs team and say, yeah, no, that's the fucking team right there.
Look no farther than this. What team has the best hockey player in the tournament? The Colorado Avalanche do. What team has probably the second best hockey player in the hockey tournament? The Colorado Avalanche do. If you're from the outside looking in, this is a hard team to overlook, baby.
Well, especially in the playoffs, Look, Connor McDavid was admirable in the playoffs last season, but you look at Nathan MacKinnon's playoff career versus Connor McDavid's playoff career, it's a different season. It's a different animal. And now Nate has help. Nate has not had true help the past couple years.
He hasn't had depth. He's had help. He hasn't had depth.
He's had Makar. He's had Cale Makar. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you did there. I love what you did there. We're on that road now. Hell yeah, Spring. I'm all about that.
Look, now
the number 96 doesn't exist anymore. Not here in Colorado.
He's got help now.
All right, that's going to do it for us for our Between the Pipes Stanley Cup playoff preview for Mark Springer. I'm Alex Ryan. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for an hour and 15 minutes on a Thursday evening. Avs, Dallas Stars, 6:30 p.m. You can hear the game on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Cannot wait to talk to you guys live from Golden in a remote location. Just look for Altitude Sports Radio socials tomorrow to figure out where that is going to be. And then when they come on home, every single game, live Between the Pipes action in the arena from the banquet bar, me and Mark Springer. They're going to do it again, guys. There's a reason why I wore all of these things. There's a reason why I'm flashing the Stanley Cup ring this year. They're getting it done. We'll see you guys soon.
We need double fist it, man. That's what we're going to do.